What?
Look out!
Alright, I'm just going to be completely honest here. You might want to consider waiting a bit before choosing to invest into this one. After like 8 hours of testing, I've kind of realised that Gimmick Puppets right now are kind of living up to their name of being just a gimmick. Don't get me wrong, this deck right now has quite a lot of pros to it. It's extremely consistent, you can run multiple copies of Pot of Greed. The deck itself can feel extremely smooth to play, considering some duels you'll find you'll be able to summon 3 rank 8s in one turn. But at some point you kind of realise that after the third rank 8, you actually haven't accomplished a whole lot. I've been getting some crazy mixed emotions from this archetype. One duel you'll be absolutely popping off, performing the sickest combos you've ever seen, and straight up feel like a goddamn criminal after yoinking your opponent's biggest monsters. The next, you're gonna find yourself wanting to see a doctor due to the amount of problems you're having trying to finish. Like your main boss monster only has 1500 attack. That's not really going to be killing anyone. So just a fair warning before you throw all your gems into what could possibly be the biggest dumpster fire. Maybe you should consider waiting a week or two to see what lists develop and what cool tech cards get discovered before really deciding whether or not to build this one. Don't get me wrong, the deck can be exceptionally fun, and if you've already invested into it, don't worry, there's a bit of future potential here with every dark number card added to the game, and it's definitely a coggable deck. But in terms of being a top tier competitive investment, I'm kind of having my doubts right now. Although my initial thoughts on the Gaia structure deck were kind of similar, and look how that turned out. So hopefully I'm wrong on this one too. Either way, let's stop stalling, here's the deck list. So before I go through it, just a friendly reminder that if you do enjoy this video or find any of the content useful, to please hit the like button down below, and consider subscribing to the channel whilst you're down there. It's completely free and you can unsub at any time. Alright, let's get into the list. So I'd definitely say that every single monster I'm running here is completely core to the list, and besides maybe adding another baby if I owned a third, I wouldn't really change anything there. Everything else is completely replaceable outside the triple Pot of Greed, although personally I found Econ to be by far the best of all the back row I've tested with this deck, even over Treacherous Trap Hole. Bisque can be special summoned from hand by discarding one Gimmick Puppet monster, and when in the grave can be banished to prevent your opponent from targeting your Gimmick Puppet monsters with card effects. Keep this in mind as it makes it your best target for tribute with advanced draw in most duels, to avoid getting owned by back row. Magnet can special summon itself if your opponent controls a monster and all monsters you control are Gimmick Puppet monsters. Baby on normal summon can resurrect a Gimmick Puppet in the grave, and can be banished from the grave to prevent your opponent from activating cards in response to your Gimmick Puppet effects. Generally the best target to be special summoned from the grave is going to be Gear. This guy can target one Gimmick Puppet monster you control and change its level to match it. I mean this guy with Baby can make any level 4, or you can combine it with any other puppet to make any rank 8. You're also running one copy of Dreary, which might just be the best card in the deck due to how well it combos with the skill. When in the grave you can banish one other Gimmick Puppet monster to special summon this card, but keep in mind this is a once per turn thing, and this card can only be used to make Gimmick Puppet exceed monsters. Your skill is called Relinquish Puppet, and allows you to send one level 8 Gimmick Puppet monster from your hand or deck to the grave, which 90% of the time will be the infinitely recyclable Dreary. Then play one Destroy from outside of your deck. This is a monster that can be tributed to special summon up to 2 Gimmick Puppet monsters from hand. There are also a bunch of restrictions on this skill, but you can read them yourself. The deck has one new spell in the form of Perform Puppet, which allows you to banish Gimmick Puppet monsters from your grave to adjust the levels of all monsters you control. If a Gimmick Puppet is destroyed whilst this card is active, you can target one of your banished Gimmick Puppet monsters and special summon it. Both the effects are once per turn. Now we move on to the extra deck. So firstly, we have the 2 returning cards of Malevolent Sin, which you have all seen before, and Sky Prison, which some of you may be unfamiliar with, but it's basically just an anti-graveyard card that prevents your opponent from special summoning stuff from the grave whilst protecting itself from being destroyed by card effects. Summon this guy against a Resonator player on turn 1, and you might find they just concede instantly. Then we have the 4 new boys. Gigantes is a rank 4 that can attach 2 materials to yoink 2 monsters your opponent controls. You can then tribute this card to make all monsters you control level 8. Therefore, you can exceed summon using the monsters you just yoinked. There are also a bunch of restrictions on this guy, but again, you can read them yourself. Zombiestein is a 4500 attack monster that once per turn during either turn can change its battle position and discard one card to negate any face-up card your opponent currently controls. And keep in mind, this is a quick effect, so it can be chained to your opponent's currently activating cards to negate them. Giant Grinder up to twice per turn could attach a material to target one special summon monster and destroy it, and if it was an Xyz monster, your opponent takes damage equal to half its original attack. And finally, Strings, which, I'll be honest here, is basically just a 3k beater, as I don't think I ever really got to use this guy's effect, which basically just puts tokens on face-up monsters to make them go boom during the next end phase. But like I said, I don't think I've ever actually used this guy's effect, so it's mostly just here for the stat line. Alright guys, that's it for the deck profile portion of the video. The rest of the video will be gameplay with commentary showcasing how each of the combos work in this deck. Remember that if you are enjoying the video or find any of the content useful, to please hit the like button down below and consider subscribing to the channel whilst you're down there. Enjoy the gameplay. Alright, let's get into it. So I'll be real with you, there were a lot more replays that I had, but I had to scrap a lot of them due to the fact that I changed the deck list so many goddamn times that I was kinda only left with 3. But these replays do get pretty long and definitely show all the combos anyway, so you shouldn't need more than 3. Alright, so this was against a absolutely cancer player. But I was also kind of proud of this duel because I did some pretty cool stuff. This definitely showcased how well this deck can work. So first of all, activating the skill to make sure to put Gimmick Puppet, Bisque, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'll Google translate that later. But you put this in the grave instead of the normal Dreary Duel, because we know we're against an Odeon player, and this card is a necessity versus a trap heavy deck. It basically just stops your cards being targeted. Then we're going to use Destroy's effect to then special summon 2 Gimmick Puppets. Normally I wouldn't go so ham on special summoning on my first turn like this, but I'm kind of scared of Floodgate Trap Hole, so I was just like, I'm going to summon everything now. Plus it doesn't particularly matter if you do this, it's kind of bad, but at the same time, if this card goes to the grave, you can special summon it anyway, so you're only really losing 1 card if this is removed, so it's not too bad. Alright, as you can see, sets a bunch of cards. I'm not sure if he doesn't know to activate them in response to this, because I think he just left my monster alone. Yeah, so I activated this, now you can no longer target my stuff at all. None of my Gimmick Puppets are targetable. And this is where we do some really cool plays. So, first of all we summon our Terror Baby. Terror Baby then brings back the level 4, which is given to us via the skill. So now we can make our Gigantes, who can detach 2 materials to target 2 monsters my opponent controls, or up to 2 monsters, and take control of them. So I know this is going to be that annoying Shiranui monster, and I really do not want that in the graveyard, so I'm just going to keep it for myself by sticking it underneath one of my cards. So I yoink it. Turns out it actually wasn't the Shiranui monster, but it really didn't matter because I wanted this anyway. Same kind of stuff. But that was my thought process, so... Alright, so then we tribute, or use its second effect to tribute itself to make this into a level 8. Then this card's now in the graveyard, so we can special summon it back, and we have 2 level 8s to make our Giant Grinder. It's a pretty neat looking animation. And even more epic background noise. And we bop our opponent. Because he can't target any of our stuff, remember, so unless he has like a Drowning or a Wall of D, all that back row is useless. To be fair, he could have activated... I know he had activating... his stuff was activatable when I turned this face up, so he could have saved himself by maybe activating like a Karma card or whatever he had on his own Tamer, but he chose not to, so he let us Xyz summon. Alright, next duel. Alright, so I think this was a Harpy player. Not sure if it was the Trimid player in disguise. I know it's definitely Harpy. Alright, so once again, Relinquish Puppet. This time we are going to send the Dreary Duel. Basically, 99% of the time you are going to want to send this to the grave, as if you have this in the grave, it's just for the rest of the duel, unless it's like Karma Colored or Banished, it's going to be infinitely recycling. It's a really good card. Alright, Destroy. Special summon 2 monsters. Now, I went for this play specifically because I was hoping he would actually potentially remove this monster, because I wanted this Bisque doll in the grave so I could have banished it to stop him targeting my stuff, but he kind of left my monster alone, which is a bit annoying. But it doesn't matter because at least now we have a negate on board. Alright, so 2 level 8s, making our puppet strings. Now we can swing into him and he has to respond. Then decides to book a moon. Now, I shouldn't have negated here. I kind of forgot that you had to discard. I was just BMing for fun, but then I realized I had to discard a card to use this, so I had to get rid of my Perform Puppet, but that was just a misplay. I was just trying to BM, I'm a dumbass. Like, there's no point in having this face up. If anything, it's more of a downside. Gigantes, summon the 2 Harpies. Slayer's Nest, tributes it off. Gets his Harpy Perfumer, gets the draw card. Summons his big Harpy. I can now draw a bunch of cards and remove 2 of my monsters, so was a bit sketchy. Alright, board is completely open, but thankfully he wasn't able to lethal me, so we can make a follow-up play. Now see how we only have 1 card in hand, by the way. We do draw a second, but look how many resources he has compared to what we have. This just shows how like good this deck has a follow-up. It just doesn't get counted out just because you have low card advantage. Because as I said, this card is super good. But first thing we're going to do is we're going to use our Bisque doll to make sure this card can't target us anymore and this back row can't target us. We're going to bring back the level 1, which can change to level 4. And as you saw from the last duel, here comes a Gigantes. Detaching 2 materials, taking control of both my opponent's monsters. He cleverly makes sure to use a spell, so he can try to return a card to hand and flip Slank face down so we don't quite get to have as much stuff go off. I don't think he realised that I can just flip it face up again though, so it didn't really do a whole lot. And because Cyber Slash happens to be a level 8, by just summoning back a level 8, I can Xyz summon into strings. And once again, he can't target it still, so he was just dead. Alright, final duel. Now this one was a long one. A very long one. This was a Blue Eyes player. This was an example of an opponent playing way too much goddamn back row. And me not having enough answers to it. Because we don't run any MSTs in this deck or anything, we're relying purely on Bisque to protect us. Alright, Relinquish Puppet. And this normally is what happens in most turn 1 matchups, if you know your opponent's playing something that's not like super graveyard special summoning, so you don't want to summon your Sky Prison. In most matchups you don't want to summon too much turn 1, you don't want to invest too much, especially considering none of these cards are useful going first. The only cards that are ever useful on turn 1 are going to be Zombiestein and Sky Prison, and both generally aren't that great, unless you know what your opponent's playing and you can know these cards are going to be effective against it. So in most cases you can just chill on whatever back row you have. Oh god, this was such a long duel. Alright, so summons his Dragon Spirit of White, very annoying because we can chain Floodgate to it, but of course it's going to swap itself over. Do get to book his Blue Eyes though to protect our card so we can special summon during the next turn. Oh, if you're wondering why I decided to discard to special summon instead of using this guy's effect, is because I wanted this level 4 specifically to not be banished by this level 8, I believe. because that way I could use Gimmick Puppet Terror Baby with it. At least I think that was my reasoning. I could be wrong there. This duel was a while ago. Alright, so Karma Cup, discard to banish my guy. Kinda shitty, but that's fine, because now we have got Bisque in grave. So we can banish Bisque to protect our monsters, bring back to level 8, and we're going to use that level 8 in a second. So we summon a Gigantes, which is going to take his monster, put it face up, and now he has a level 8 on board, and another level 8, so Xyz summon into our 3000 attack monster. Sadly though, he did have a stone, so we didn't have a whole lot to do after that. Alright. So I had the option here where I could have just Econ take to try to lethal that way, but that was kind of risky considering he has 2 back row, so I didn't really want to go for that play. Instead, I just make myself a little shield and pass the turn. I was hoping also that maybe when I attempt to swing into his Blue Eyes, he'd activate the back row to try and kill my monster, which in that case we Econ take in response, hence why I didn't set the Econ. So yeah, used his big brain and avoided that, I guess. Or maybe he just didn't want to use his back row, I'm not sure. At this point we're just waiting to try and draw into stuff, same as him. Which we hit our advanced draw, tribute a monster, draw 2 cards. Karma Cup, we're banishing our monster so we don't do 1000 damage. That's also why I didn't go into any rank 8s there, because I knew this back row's got to be something. So there's no point going into a rank 8 and just having it removed. I just left it at 1 monster. I do that a couple of times. So again, I summon a 1000 attack monster. I know this back row's going to do something, so there's no point going into a rank 8. And at this point, I didn't even want to play the Econ, because at some point I was like tempted to just summon the Dreary doll, activate Econ, steal a Blue Eyes, so I was just going to wait. And I didn't want him using any kind of back row removal to remove it, I was just going to sit here and wait. I was down to play the long game. Alright, now I have to Xyz summon because none of my monsters can attack, so... Summon our Grinder, set one of our Econs, just to protect ourselves, and we're good. Alright, this is where things start to get a little bit iffy. Summon the Dreary doll to protect ourselves once again. Thankfully, it took him this long to Karma Cut it. Like, if he Karma Cut this ages ago, this duel would have been a lot harder, I think. He just let me infinitely recycle this, but he could have banished it ages ago, so... Nice guy, I guess. Alright, finally he's going to be able to summon an alternative Eyes and actually make some kind of a play. But at this point, he's run out of cards. So he does 3000 damage to me, I don't give a shit, I pass the turn. I set my other Econ. He swings again, Econ it again. Tries to swing again, gets Econ, and he's out of cards, and he decks out. Alrighty, so that's the last gameplay. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I tried to get a few spicier ones, especially considering there were very few of them. So, yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed or find this useful, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, peace.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob? Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis. Oh.